and somebody just needs to tell me what to read, because at this point I was working with these two books that were on my TBR. There were all these books that I had decided that I just never wanted to read. I had already read my book club book, and this is our book for June. No, May. It's our book for May, but I had already read that. I didn't want to read this. And so it seemed like a good idea to add that on. And I also managed to get through Babe, like I said. And I had a read along that I was going to start, so that was coming up, but wasn't yet. And I think that's everything. Um, so I've decided that mood reading doesn't actually work for me, and that I just need to go back to a TBR. So that's what I did. I somehow made it through the week. Let me tell you what I actually ended up finishing, and I'll tell you what I'm currently still reading. But give me a second to put these down and pick that up. Okay, so let's let's go through what I actually ended up reading. And yeah, if you're new to my channel, my reading weeks aren't usually this chaotic. But the books that I finished, the first one was My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Fredrik Backman. This is the first Fredrik Backman I've ever written. You can tell by the shiny mylar that this I took out from my library. I am reading it or read it for the local book club that I'm in. This is our May choice, but I was like, well, let me just see if it's available and read it in April just because I need something to read, and apparently I need somebody to tell me what to read. So I read this book. This book is about a young girl named Elsa who doesn't have a lot of friends, really is struggling at school. She is, I think, 8 years old, and her closest and really only true friend is her zany grandmother. However, when things take a turn and her grandmother comes down very ill and is hospitalized, Elsa needs to start trying to figure out how to make it in the world without her best friend. And as part of that, she realizes she's going to need more friends, and she is also going to have to figure out the truth of what was really going on in her grandmother's life. And the stakes become high because it also involves keeping herself safe. So I don't want to go into a lot of other details because I don't want to get into any spoilers. I really enjoyed this story. I was very surprised by it. The writing style was really good, which I kind of expected. It is Fredrik Backman. I wouldn't say it was my favorite writing style. There were a couple of things about it that I thought were just kind of awkward, but for me, the highs in this book were definitely the characters and the characters' different stories. I do like a story where, even though you're mainly from one person's point of view, you meet somebody and then the story kind of becomes about like their backstory. And then, you kind of get to see how they all mix together. So, quite a bit of that happens in this, where she will meet different neighbors that live in the building with her, and then you'll start to learn their backstory, and then they kind of get added to the group and go along, if you will. It's definitely the true, meaning, joy, love, whatever is the friends you make along the way. Like, that's definitely the vibe of this book. It was funny and sad and heartwarming all at the same time, which is pretty much what I expected because I feel like that's a lot of what you hear about Fredrik Backman's work, and this definitely lived up to that. Um, Probably the only thing that I didn't like about this book is that it definitely had times where it felt like there were things included in the plot that were there just to make you feel sad. It definitely felt like it leaned into trauma stories. But other than that, overall, I thought it was pretty well done. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, so that was really good. I think so far with my book club, this is probably my favorite book that we've read with them. And yeah, I have good things to say about it and think about it, and it left me with a good feeling. Did it leave me wanting to run out and buy more of his books? No. Even though I have had a lot of people say this is their absolute favorite of his, which is all the more reason that it's not leading me to want to run out and buy something else, because I thought it was good, but like it didn't blow my mind, if you will. This is a good book for people who like character-based adventures in some ways, who don't small mind and who don't mind following a younger protagonist. It's definitely a journey to finding out the truth, and it would be good too if you're just looking for a good reason to have a quick cry. The main topics that are covered in this book are forgiveness, secret lives, friendships. It's definitely about the relationships, trauma, and healing, and stories and fairy tales. There's a lot of ideas and thoughts about stories and sharing stories and finding meaning in stories and fairy tales, and that was kind of neat how that was done. So yeah, it's a good book. It's definitely one that I would recommend, but not like my favorite book ever. The next book that I ended up finishing is Babe, the Gallant Pig by Dick King Smith. This actually ended up getting on my TBR list and purchased thanks to the Rory Gilmore challenge. I don't even know if this book is mentioned in the Gilmore Girls or not, or how, but the only thing that was important to me was I was like, I didn't know that Babe was a book. I've seen the movie. I absolutely love that movie. And so I was like, yeah, I'll read the book. And it's super short. Why I didn't read it as soon as I bought it, I don't know. But it's been sitting on my shelf for a little while, and I'm glad I finally read it. This story is about Babe, who starts out as a little piglet and is welcomed onto the Hoggett farm. He meets a vast variety of different characters who live there, including Fly the sheepdog, and of course the entire flock of sheep that are owned by Farmer Hoggett. And Babe learns to find his own place there as he starts to see Fly as a sort of mother figure for him. She enjoys having his companionship and teaches him all about how to become a sheep pig. And the story goes on from there as Farmer Hoggett starts to realize that there's some value in having Babe on the farm and that he might actually be a help with the pigs. And the storyline pretty much follows the movie. So if you've seen that, you've more or less so read the book, but it's just a really fun way to revisit the movie and the story of Babe. It was very sweet and heartwarming, just like the movie is. It talks about sheep herding and farming life. Friendship is a major theme in this book, and just about going beyond expectations and not judging books by its cover. So, a lot of wonderful themes that you would expect to find in children's literature. Like I said, it's a very lighthearted, heartwarming read, and I think it would be great for anyone who's just looking for something joyful and sweet and with a very kind message to it. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and I'm glad I read it. And it definitely kept me from getting in a reading slump because it was something that I knew I could read, breeze through, and just have fun with. So it was a good pick to go with that. And so I guess mood reading can work for me if I like am able to filter out exactly what it is I want. But I think that list, once I filtered it, only had like 2 or 3 books on it. So I don't know what I was going to do after that. I working on Clarissa. We are reading the April letters in this, and so I am a good way into this. And yeah, really interesting times in Clarissa right now. On audiobook, I am working my way through Lovely One. I actually thought I was going to be finished with this by today, but I have maybe like 2 hours of the audiobook left to listen with, and I have contractors here, so this was a good quiet time to film. So I was like, I guess I'm not going to finish that first. But anyway, this is going really well. This is a really inspiring memoir. I'm looking forward to telling you guys more about it. The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. And I am probably about a third of the way through the book. Almost halfway through the book. My bookmark may or may not have fallen out, and this is going okay. So we'll see where that ends up. Right now, I'm going to predict that it's going to be somewhere between a 3 and a 4. And I'm going to predict that Pachinko, which is the other book I'm currently reading, is going to be 4 stars. But we'll see. I am probably, yeah, halfway through the book, maybe almost 2/3 of the way through this book. So this will definitely be coming up soon. I am enjoying this story. I think it's funny that 2 of my books this week are very similar shades. Not exactly, but both blue. So that's fun. But yeah, so shall I try this again? This is my currently reading stack. This is what's going on with that. I am also still working on the Song of the Days from Year of Wonder, and I will put up on the screen the Song of the Week. This is the song that I'm most enjoying out of there this week. And yeah, so that was my rather chaotic reading week, which turned into a rather chaotic video. And I'm just going to stop while I'm ahead. I don't think I have anything else to talk to you about. I feel like I really rushed through these two reviews, but honestly, I just don't have that much to say on either of those books. And I'm glad I've kind of just gotten back into reading. So thank goodness for somebody suggesting something and already having a planned read along. That's it for me today. Let me know how your reading went. Let me know how your reading week went. Wow, it's hard to say that. And let me know, do you mood read? How do you do that? Like, how do you decide to just randomly pick a book? Like, I don't know if I need to make my TBRs longer or what, but I don't know. Anyway, comment below, like and subscribe, do other stuff. Enjoy your reading week. I'll talk to you next time. Bye. I am still working on maybe fewer books at a time. Let's just do one at a time. Where did it go? It fell in the trash can. That's harsh. This has not been my favorite read, but it's not trash. And that would be The Bee Sting by Paul Murray.